Hello, and welcome back to Let's Talk Chicago Bears. And it's a Victory Monday again. The Bears won. Oh my God. So you know what that means? It's time for the victory song that just keeps on giving and giving and giving. Side note, can't carry a tune. Are you ready? Set. Bear down, Chicago Bears. Make every play, clear the way to victory. Bear down, Chicago Bears. Put up a fight that's so might, so fearlessly. They'll never let them forget the way you thrilled the nation with your T formation. Bear down, Chicago Bears. Let them know why you're, wearing the crown. You're the pride and joy of Illinois. Chicago Bears. Bear down. Wow. Was that a great game or what? Well, great game. Again, we can't say it was, because the first three quarters, again, here we are, and I was like, no way we're going to win this game. You know, I was just, I had family in town. My two brothers, their wives, and my sister were in town all weekend, and that's why I didn't do a show on Friday, because we were already down on the strip, and so yesterday I was just beat. So I was just sitting there for the first three quarters going, taking my notes, and I was just so laid back, and I'm like, oh, they're not going to win. They're just not going to win. I had it in my head, not going to win. All right, don't worry. And then the fourth quarter happens. Or should I say the last 5 minutes in the fourth quarter happened. And bangity, boom, boom, boom. Victory Monday! So because I wasn't here on Friday, just wanted to give you a hint. The Giants and the Bears have played 63 times, including 8 postseason games, with the Bears winning 36 games and the actually 37 games now, and the Giants winning 25, and there was also 2 ties, and the very first time the Giants and the Bears played was in December of 1925. So wow. And just a shout out to Loveland last week. He won the NFC Player of the Week, and we know why. And he had another good game. I will say I was a little worried when I found out that Edwards was not going to play in the game, because when he's not playing, our linebacker, him and Edmonds together are a great team, and even Swell. So I was a little worried, but again, Victory Monday! And my threes, the Bears won all 3 of my threes. Penalties, 5 or less. They only had 3. Can you believe it? 3. I know. Turnovers, they had 1, and they had no 3 and out. So what does that mean? Victory. Okay, so let's get into some of the stats. And it was just, I don't know. So let's get through the stats, and then we'll talk about the game. The Bears passing was 220 yards for Cabe. We rushed 171 yards, which we're going to talk about that, because I was not happy with that at all. I will be honest with you. I really thought we should have rushed in the first half a lot more, which would have kept Dart, who is their quarterback, who is going to be, for the Giants, a very, very good quarterback in this league. It would have kept him off the field more, but they didn't. So we'll talk about it. Third down conversions were terrible for the Bears yesterday. They were 3 of 11. But they overcame them. But this is a good, in the red zone, they were 3 of 4, which is great. Penalties, 3, phenomenal, considering they have been, in double digits the last few games. They had 1 turnover, as I said, and 4 sacks. I mean, with all that, you've got a damn good chance of winning that game. Williams was phenomenal yesterday, and the numbers really don't show all the incidentals that he did yesterday. So he was 20 of 36, not great, but 220 yards, touchdown. He rushed for 63 yards and had a rushing touchdown. And we all know that rushing, we're going to talk about that, he was phenomenal because he was never sacked. I will talk about it, but I counted at least 4 times where he should have been sacked and he wasn't. I mean, this kid is improving every single week, and this is exactly what we want. Like I said, I've said a million times, forget last year, worry about this year because it's so much different. And when we can see each week improvement from him and the team, we're headed in the right direction. Swift was, he touched the ball 13 times and got 80 yards, another good game. Kyle Mungai had 28 yards, but only touched it 7 times. Now, this kid had how many last week? 100 and I don't remember. It was a lot, and he only touched it 7 times. And Ben did admit that he didn't have a good game. Ben, the head coach himself, said, I did not have one of my better games in calling, and he is 100% right. But again, let's go through the stats. So, Swift, good for you, and even Kyle, right on. And of course, rushing, Williams had 63. Rome led the receivers with 86 yards. He had a great game, had no catches last week, and was phenomenal this week. I'm sure his dad's happy now. He had 86 yards receiving with a touchdown. Loveland, our tight end, had a wonderful game. He caught a ball that was like way out there, really with his fingers. And he held on to that because he was tackled. This kid is turning out to be good, and he's going to get better and better. He's starting to prove why they picked him number 1 in the first round. In the top was our first round pick at number 10. Like I said, I was not happy with that, but I'm starting to like it. Our rookie receiver, number 10, Burden, he had 51 yards. Swift had 18 yards, and then Moore, Komet, OZ, and Amungai all touched the balls as well. OZ, though, I will say, he has been really coming through this season, but not yesterday. He was targeted 4 times and only caught 1 pass, and the other 3 passes were very catchable. I could have caught those passes. So he did not have a good day. I'm sure he is coming out and saying it because it was true, but he was out there playing and doing other things, blocking and stuff. I know Clement had a really good block in the later I think he blocked. Clement had a good block when Williams was running in for his touchdown, that long run he had down the sideline. Clement really stood up. And tight ends, besides catching the ball, the tight ends also are used as blockers, and it's very important whether they stay on the line or they're running and helping. So tight ends have dual things, and these two, Loveland and Clement, we have a wonderful duel, and I just cannot wait for the future for those two to see them getting better and better. Our defense. Number 35, Gardner Johnson, the guy we signed a couple weeks ago, who has been a problem child for everybody except for us right now, had 9 total tackles, 2 sacks, 2 quarterback hits. He caused the fumble that actually knocked their quarterback Dart out of the game, and number 26, Wright, recovered the fumble. So Gardner Johnson, another phenomenal day. Edmonds, our linebackers, middle guys, had 7 tackles with 1 quarterback hit. Dexter Sr. had a half a sack. Sweat had 1.5 sack, and this is really good news. Last year, all of last year, Sweat had 5.5 sacks. So 5.5 sacks. That's where he's at right now. So he's only going to get more, we hope. And so he's already doing better than he did last year. And he's showing up each week more and more, and he's getting in there. And as I say all the time, that defensive line or whoever's up there, if you can't sack them, you make them uncomfortable, and that's what they did. And they, unfortunately for Dart, he did get knocked out of the game. You know, you never want to see anybody get hurt, but I got to tell you, when he was gone, when I saw Wilson come in, I thought, oh, this is good because I've never been a big fan of Russell Wilson, and he's certainly not very good anymore. He's past his prime, in my opinion. He's at best a backup, but I was a little happy to see that dart went in because I said earlier he is going to be a really. The Giants also have found their quarterback, like the Bears have found theirs. Those are all the statistics. So let's talk about the game. First of all, the weather and wind were another real challenge at this game for both teams in the first half, particularly. So they weren't really kicking field goals in that first half because of the wind was so bad. I think it settled down in the second half, but it was kind of fun watching the snow. I said to myself, this is awesome. And they went for fourth down a lot, both teams. Both teams went for fourth down 4 times, and neither one of them did well. They were both 1 for 4. So they didn't do well there, but in the first half, they really had to. In the second half, they both started doing field goals. Okay, so the game balls. Get back here. The game balls, very well deserved by these two young men. Number 35 again, Gardner Johnson. He got a game ball, and Ben had mentioned in the press conference that Gardner Johnson has found a home. He was, he didn't play for a couple months because he got released from Texas in September, and no one else picked him up. So, because again, problem child, they were button heads, and he had worked with Dennis Allen, our D coordinator in New Orleans. So I think that's why they decided, let's bring him on and see. Maybe we can get his attitude checked at the door. Well, Ben Johnson said last night, he's found a home, and he loves playing with the Bears, and the Bears love having him. And he did say that when he accepted the game ball. And, of course, the second game ball went to, obviously, Williams, who had another great comeback game. He didn't get sacked, and like I said, he was rushed. They rushed that the Giants line did 11 rushes on him besides all the other times, and he got away from all of them, and these guys were at him all day. The line did the best they could, but Williams is the one who really stepped up. I mean, if you watch this game, there was a couple, like I said, at least 4 times where he should have been sacked, and he wasn't, because he was just, guys were grabbing him, and he was getting out of it, and he was running. 63 yards, a rushing touchdown, throwing touchdown. This kid is getting better and better. Yes, he still has some problems with settling down his feet. Some of the passes were a little low, some of them were a little high, but again, still learning. But how can we complain? He didn't turn the ball over again. And in the court, he loves the fourth quarter. The Bears scored in the first, third, and fourth quarter. The only quarter they did not score in was the second. And as I talked about the D-line, the Giants seemed like they were blitzing every play. And what was really special about that is the offense only got 1 penalty yesterday out of the 3. The other 2 were on the D. And this is just awesome. And that shows you how important it is, because the Giants, if you look at their penalties, they had a lot of them, and it only hurt them. And I was saying to my son, see what penalties do? This week, they were to our advantage. And so that, bad teams do stupid stuff, and Bears only having 3 penalties is phenomenal, because if they would have been having the penalties like they've normally been having the last 5 weeks, they would not have won this game, but they didn't. They did not do that. And the O-line, again, I know, but going into this game, I didn't do a show Friday, so I couldn't tell you this, but that was Ben Johnson's biggest concern playing the Giants. Of course, their record, what were they, 3-, I don't know, but they have a losing record. And he said they had the best defensive line in the league, and he was not lying, because they were in that old offensive line and Cabe's face all day, although we did get some runs on them. But our line stuck in there. They didn't let him get to him, and they only had 1 penalty. Oh, so important. But had we gotten that run game going a little bit more, like I said, that run game, I was not happy with Ben's play calling in that first half at all. Last week we had 200 and I can't remember, but it was high to 60 to 80 yards in rushing. And these guys between Swift and Kyle Mungai had the ball. He touched it 13 times, Kyle 7 times. And then, of course, Williams ran it 8 times. But you can't, Mungai should have had more touches than 7. And even Swift more than 13, because that would have kept the Giants offense off the field in that first half. I didn't like his play calling because there was a couple times where there was one in particular I didn't like. It was 2nd and 1. We were still on the other side of we hadn't crossed over the 50 yet. And I would have taken the ball and run it and got another first down. So he throws a pass. I get why they're doing it. Didn't make it. He underthrew it. And then they didn't get the next one, and then they had to punt. So it's like, I didn't like it. And I think he admitted it in the press conference. He said it was not one of my better games, but the team and Williams bailed me out a lot on that. And so, but that shows you how much the run game, how important it is, and we've obviously stepped it up in the last 4 games. We've been over 100. Prior to that, we did not break 100. Now we're doing it, and you've got to keep doing it. It only helps your defense, keeps them off the field, keeps them fresh, and you are scoring points usually when you do that. So, Ben, not your best game there, but Williams and the offense bailed you out, and I think you need to go back and start using these running backs more and more, and especially the rookie Kyle Mungai. I got to tell you, I really like this kid a lot, so we can start using Swift as our finesse guy, and Mungai can be that guy that's going to go up the middle that Swift cannot do and get those extra yards and carry those D guys on his back. We're going to talk about it Friday for the next show, but they have got to continue to run the ball because, we are coming up to a very tough part of the schedule. And that's the thing. This team really, really, really believes in themselves, and it showed, and they play together. They looked really bad in the first 3 quarters. You know that. And I'm sure everybody said the same thing as me. Oh, this is just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And then... But the one thing I will say that I think the head coach, I forgot what's his name, Daboll or whatever, when he was down on the 5-yard line, the team, and they were down on 4th 1. It was 4th and 1. I was shocked. Or was it the 3-yard line? They were close, and it was 4th and 1. I was shocked he didn't go for it to try to go up 2 touchdowns instead. He went for the field goal, and which made it a 10-point game and opened the window for the Bears to have an opportunity, which you saw once again they did. They went down there, and that's the thing about Williams that is just so damn impressive. This kid, you can see he is locked in. Totally locked in, and I think he must be thinking, this is our game, and he has such confidence in the last, which I'm saying to myself, okay, great confidence in the 4th quarter, but we needed all 4 quarters, and he's going to get it, and he does, he's got it, but it's got to be because of with our schedule, and we're gonna talk about that, but he was just wonderful. Of course we played a very subpar team, and their quarterback got knocked out because, let's face it, that guy, we didn't allow their running backs to get any yards, but that quarterback Dart was one who was running on us a lot. Now, I think they might have cleaned it up as the game went on, but they knocked him out, so it didn't matter. But this is why I say, people, I told you I was down on the Strip this weekend, which I personally hate being on. It's overpriced. It's ridiculous. I wish my family had listened to me. There was 2 other options, but they didn't. So it's their wallet, not mine, because I didn't have to pay. I stayed with my sister, and she paid for the room. So, but I was down on the strip, and I talked to a lot of Bears fans, actually, and a lot of football fans, because I will talk to anybody. And we all, some, oh, playoffs, playoffs, playoffs. And I have been saying all year, no, I want 500. Now, the schedule is getting really, really tough. This is our schedule for the rest of the year. Minnesota this coming week in Minnesota. The next game is Pittsburgh and the douchebag Rodgers. That's in Soldier Field. Then on a short week, we play the Eagles in Philadelphia. Then it's Green Bay in Green Bay. It's Cleveland. It's Soldier Field. It's Green Bay again at home in Soldier Field. Then it's the 49ers in San Francisco, and then Detroit at home. You know what? Even with Cleveland in there, they have a really good defense. They don't have an offense, but they can beat you. So those games, as I'm saying, you see, this is the hardest part of the schedule because we're playing Minnesota, Detroit, and Green Bay. So 4 in our division in the rest in these next games, and it's going to be tough. So I would be thrilled if we come out at 500. I know everybody wants to go to the playoffs, but I am not a one and done fan. I believe the Bears are not there quite yet for the playoffs. You can't play 3 subpar quarters and then come alive in the 4th when you're playing in these teams. You just can't, because they are not going to let up on that gas pedal. They are going to ride you, because they know that Williams can do what he's do, and all these teams are, especially Minnesota this week, are going to come for him. So the run game is so important. The wide receivers, when Cape throws you a catchable ball, OZ, you frickin' catch it. You can't make those mistakes. You've got to do it. You've got to be there for your quarterback. So, but the Bears are doing exactly what we wanted. Now, we thought this was going to happen a few years ago, or even last year, but we had that idiot Flus and that terrible offensive coordinator. I mean, the wheels fell off last year. We know that because we lost 10 games in a row. And but this year, they're doing what they should be doing. They're improving each week, except for the defense, which I'm going to talk about, but that's a problem. That's our biggest problem right now, is our defense. And when was the last time in the history of all of you people and me watching the Bears have we heard the defense is the problem? It's always been the offense. Not anymore, it's flipped. So if we can get the defensive line in the offseason, some guys for the defensive line, even linebackers and backfield, mostly the defensive line, so we can get in there and get more sacks and do more and disrupt the running games, which we did a really good job of that. I should have put down how much the Bears gave up, but they ran, I don't remember. It was close because Dart, in the first half, their quarterback was running all over the defense. So the defense, you know what? They look bad sometimes, and then they look really good sometimes. And the thing is, if the defense can continue to get turnovers, that is just the thing they need to do. They only had 1. I like to say 2 a game, and you're really going to have a chance to win it if your offense is doing what ours has been doing. So, but get back to, so they're improving each week. The offense it still needs improving, and it's getting there because you want to be more consistent, like these drops. Cabe and these wide receivers, what they need to work on a little bit more is he needs to hit some of these guys in stride so they catch the ball and they take off. We're still doing too many catches and then down. So we need to get those. And it's getting better. The team's getting better, but you can't have good, bad play and overcome some of this stuff when you're starting to play the teams I just said who we have for the rest of the season. So, but they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. So, and I don't want, let's say we win a wild card. I don't believe anybody that they play, because if they go in as a wild card, then you usually play somebody who's really good. And I believe the Bears cannot overcome that. But then Ben says, they're going to be playing their best football in December. So maybe, I'll be totally wrong. If they went to the playoffs this year, only bad thing was you don't get a good draft pick for next year, but I don't really like to look at it this way. But if Ben's right and they start playing better, it's the defense that needs to step up now. We know the offense can do it. We know Cabe can do it. We've got a running game in the last 4 games that has been consistent. So that's a good thing, so it has to continue. Ben Johnson has to call a better game. But, excuse me. But if we were to start winning some of these games and end up in there, I would not want one and done. I'm sorry, because if you're one and done, then you blow your chance of a good draft pick and you're out. It does you no good. But again, I want 500. If we can be 500, that'll just make you better the next year, because in the offseason, in free agency and the drafts, you're going to go fill those few holes that we have. And we don't have many on the D, but the defensive line, that has got to be a little bit more consistent. But I will say the defensive line has come a long way since the beginning of the season. They gave up, they gave up to Joe Flacco, 42 points. They gave up Detroit 52 the second week. So they can be, they can get hurt. Let's put it that way. So D is our biggest problem. The special teams were pretty good yesterday. He made a good punt at one point when we really needed him to. They seem to, on the kickoff, seem to be doing a little better. There was one point where they gave him a really, really good run back, and I think they were on like the 47 or their 48-yard line. But then they did what the Bears have done in the past. They shot themselves in the foot, New York, and had penalties and went the wrong way. As a matter of fact, that particular one, when they had that great run back, they ended up penalties several times on that drive, and it ended up putting. So you could see where the penalties hurt. So this is just, I mean, believe me, 6-3, I am thrilled. But and again, we've talked about this. Beat the teams you should beat, and they're doing it. Now, they should have beaten Minnesota the very first game. We all know that. But you know what? It was the first game. New coaching, new players. It takes time, and it did. And they shot themselves in the foot in that first game, too. And I don't even know what happened in Detroit that second game, but we don't really care. But I want to see, though, the Bears. What would really, really help the Bears is if they split with our division. So obviously they lost to Minnesota and Detroit. They need to win those 2 games, and they need to win at least from the Packers. So I would love them to beat the Packers twice, but they can't lose any more games but 1 to our division. Okay, so that's vitally important. But at the end of the day, we are seeing a team that we have not seen in years, where they do not give up. They're not doing the really stupid shit like they used to do. And 3 penalties, that warms my heart. I mean, when I was looking at my notes after the game, I was like, oh my God. Because I do things so I know where to look at the bad things, and I highlight the penalties and this and that, and I'm like, am I right? 3? So I didn't believe it. I'm like, I was so tired. I'm like, I'm sure I missed something. So I went back and I saw 3, and I was like, I was right. And only 1 by the offense and 2 by the defense. So way better, guys. But you see how important it is. Again, going to repeat myself. If they had double-digit penalties, no way they would come home with a W. And no way you get to hear me sing that victory song. Which I know you're digging on, right? So another team victory. Everybody did their job. Everybody, even when we were down and out, the D hung in there. They didn't walk off the field holding their heads down. How many times have we seen that in the past? Offense and defense walking, looking so defeated. Not this year. Even when they're down, they don't look defeated. So that's a good thing, because that sends a message to all these teams we're about to play. These guys don't frickin' give up, so we cannot let our foot off that gas pedal. They can't. So that's a good thing, because before, people knew the last few years, you get them down a little, easy peasy. And they knew they didn't have an offensive line for years, so they knew if they blitzed them, easy sacks. We know that because last year Cabe was the most sacked quarterback in the league, which I believe it was 68. Not now. I mean, again, yesterday, he was phenomenal. He had to be exhausted after that game. I love him. I know people were on him a few weeks ago, which was ridiculous. Again, second year, new coaching staff, and he is buying in. They all are. They really, really, and you know what? Bears haven't done a lot of good things in years, but hiring Ben Johnson has to be the best thing, I think, since Lovie Smith hire. And before that, Mike Ditka hire. So Ben is right up there with those two coaches in my lifetime since 1975. So, and it's only going to get better. It's only going to get better, people. Yes. I got to tell a funny story from yesterday because it really made me laugh. So when we were watching, my son was watching the Pittsburgh game against the Los Angeles Chargers last night. Congratulations to the Chargers. Rock on. I love to see Aaron Rodgers lose. I don't care what team he's on. When he loses, it makes my day because he's a douche. So my son sends me this text. This is hilarious. He goes, when he got sacked in the end zone for a safety. Do 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 safety. Does anybody know where that theme song's from? Anyways, when he got the safety, my son said he laughed out loud, and his sons were watching with him, and they were laughing with him too. And I said, and they're 3.5 and 1.5, and I go, they already know that Rodgers is a douche. I got 2 great grandsons, don't I? I mean, I was talking to my brother-in-law a couple weeks ago, and he was saying how last year, he's like, man, you swore a lot. And I said, well, they sucked. They lost 10 games in a row. And I said, and he goes, but this year, and I said, well, no, I don't have to swear much because they're good. They're better, for sure. And boy, is it easier to do shows. I was at one point, believe it or not, but my buddy talked me out of it. I was just struggling a little bit in life. I've got a lot going on in my life right now, and I'm in the middle of a move and some other things, and I was like, maybe I should just stop because I had made some mistakes the last few shows. I mean, part of my charm, he said, is the mistakes you make are pretty funny, and you know I can't pronounce any names correctly. And that I don't care about. But I did, like I said, when we played Cincinnati, that the Giants had beat them by 1 run. It was 38-39. It was the Jets that beat them 39-38 the week before we played Cincinnati. So they had 2 last-minute losses in a row. So I apologize for that. But I was kind of getting down on myself. And he's like, no, stop it. So I did. And I'm like, but it is so much easier when they win to do this show. And you know what? I have people that consistently watch me, and I appreciate it. And I got to tell you, so I had my 2 brothers and my sister, so there's 4 of us. My one brother's 73, my other brother's 70, I'm 67, and then the Martini baby is 59. And we were talking, we got together this weekend because it's so important. We're all over the country. I live here. And we're all from Illinois, obviously. I live here. My sister lives in one part of Tennessee. My brother lives in the other part of Tennessee. And then one brother lives in Hawaii. And at our age, we thought it was best to get together, and it is, because you need to stay close. Because you can see we're old. And my one brother who lives in Tennessee said he'll go on and put the show on his big TV, this show, and his dog sits and watches it the whole show. Right on, bud. Even the dog knows I'm awesome. So, this was just a wonderful victory. So I will be back on Friday to talk about the Minnesota game in Minnesota. That's going to be a tough one. They lost yesterday. Detroit won, and Green Bay's playing tonight, and I so hope Green Bay loses tonight. Oh, that would be awesome, because we're all clumped together right now in the division. Minnesota's on the bottom. Right now, we're tied with Detroit 6-3, and then Green Bay plays tonight, so we'll see. I'm so happy. And I'm really exhausted and I have a lot to do today, but I don't even care because I'm happy about the Bears. And so thank you for watching. Go Bears. I mean, rock the fuck on. Keep going, going, and going. And let's go, guys, because it's only going to get tougher. And I'm starting to believe in this team, and I know they believe in themselves, and that is so important. So on that note, like I said, family is so important. Seeing the three of them, they came in with their wives. We had a wonderful time, and it's real important. And I could see that, and it was nice. So love to my family, and the point is be kind to people. Tell your family you love them, your friends. It's just so important because you never know. And times are just so damn tough. With all the airport problems, we were afraid they weren't going to get into Vegas, let alone get out of Vegas. But fortunately, the three of them traveled and got in and got out. Rock on. And we had absolutely gorgeous weather. It was in the 80s. But it was fun watching snow in Soldier Field. I won't lie. It really was. So, but on that note, as I would say, be kind, think before you speak, smile at people. I was talking to so many people down on this trip. I ran into a lot of Chicago fans, football fans, whatever. And I came back and I went to the bathroom and I came back and I was telling my sister-in-law, I said, yeah, I just talked to this lady because we had seen a show at the Spear, which is fantastic. And I said, they were there too. And my sister-in-law goes, you do talk to everybody, don't you? And I go, oh, hell yeah. Because I just love people. I love talking to them. I love hearing their stories. And so it's better to be kind, isn't it? It's so much easier. And Bears fans, I know we're the best fans in the frickin' country. So let's stick together. And you know what? Bears, 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 we love you. We want to keep winning, and so proud of you guys and very proud of Cade Williams. He is our quarterback. Finally, the Bears are going to have a franchise quarterback. And in the 50 years I've been watching, haven't had it. McMahon don't count. This kid's going to count because he's only going to get better. So on that note, I will see you Friday. We will talk about the Minnesota game on Sunday. And have a wonderful week. Enjoy this victory. And on that note, keep on rocking and rolling from Vegas, baby.